everyone. Good evening. It's the Talent Grow Your Business show, and I'm muted at Deboale. Nice seeing you. Nice having you on again. And today, as usual, I've got a very, very distinguished guest, somebody who helps other women thrive, succeed, flourish in their business, in their lives. No one else but Roz Thornton. Roz is the founder of the Amazing Women Global. She is the director of Amazing Women Global, and she is also, the host of the Ordinary Women Doing Amazing Things. She helps ordinary women doing wonderful things get seen, get heard, get known, and, she makes them become appreciated in the society where we are. I'm really delighted to have you on the show. Thank you so very much, Roz, for coming on the show. Yeah, I'm
Thank you.
Now to introduce yourself so much more. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So where do I start? So I set up.
So what do you do? Who are you?
Yeah. So I set up Amazing Women Global in 2016. So it's just over 2 years ago now. And the reason why I set it up is because I qualified as a coach, and I'm also a trainer. And what I was finding was, particularly women, they just didn't have any confidence at all. And what I was finding was, what I was seeing these amazing, fantastic, beautiful, wonderful, talented women in front of me, and they were sort of saying, "Oh, I'm rubbish at this, I'm rubbish at that. I can't do this, I can't do that," and they were always kind of like being self-depreciating and putting themselves down all the time. And I just couldn't understand it. I was just like, but I'm seeing these amazing women in front of me, and a lot of them were just really down on themselves. So I decided I wanted to do something about it. So that's why I decided that with my business in particular, I wanted to niche with women, and I wanted to make them feel amazing, because we as women are amazing. We cope with a lot of things. We have a lot of things thrown at us. We're expected to be wonderful, women. We're expected to be wonderful housewives. We're expected to be wonderful chefs. We're expected to be wonderful at work. We're expected to be wonderful mums, and all looking fabulous and glamorous at the same time.
That's true.
So I feel like we do have a lot of pressures in society, and I do think that particularly when you look at the job market, women will only apply for a job if they meet about 90% of the criteria, whereas men will apply for a job even if they meet less than 50%, of the criteria. So I think there is a bit of a mismatch between, how we view ourselves as women and also how society views us. And I just want to be part of that change, really.
Okay, that is really wonderful and really amazing. Okay, before we actually get into these wonderful things that you're doing as a business owner, how did it start? How did the journey start? What made you go into your business? Did you just wake up one day and say, "Okay, today I'm gonna start my business"? What was the motivation? What impacted? What actually brought that about?
Well, there was quite a few motivations, really. I mean, one of them was being made redundant.
Okay.
So that was quite a big push. I got made redundant in 2010, and I remember thinking, well, if I don't start, I've always talked about starting a business. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? I could just get another job, or I could try my hand at setting up a business. And so I eventually, I ummed and ahed. I did take on a part-time job for a while. And I think that the amount of women that I met when I was doing that part-time job, I was working for a charity, and I was managing a volunteer scheme. And the charity just happened to be next door to a children's centre where there was a lot of women with young children under the age of 5 who used to go there and take their kids there to do some activities and do some early learning. And a lot of the women wanted to go back into the workplace when their children were at school. So I found that a lot of them wanted to volunteer, first of all, and that was my role, was to get them into volunteering. But then afterwards, I realised that a lot of them were, after maybe 6 or 7 months of volunteering, they wanted to actually find jobs. So a lot of them were coming to me and saying, "Oh, I want to find a job, but I don't have any confidence. Oh, I want to find a job, but I don't know how to fill out an application form. I want to get a job, but I'm struggling with my CV. So I started to put on courses for these women to help them with their CVs, their job application forms, give them some words of encouragement, some confidence. And before I knew it, there was just so many people just coming and coming through the door. The courses that I developed were impacting, on people's lives. And then, one of the women, for example, she's from the northern part of Nigeria. She's from the Boko Haram district of Nigeria. And she said to me, Roz, she said, a lot of the stuff that I'm learning here, she said, my dream is to go back to Nigeria and take this stuff that I've learned with me and actually get it in schools. Then I said, go do it. I said, just do it. What are you waiting for? And she went and she did it. And she's now got that program, the one that I taught her. She's got it in about 3 secondary schools in the Boko Haram district of northern Nigeria. So, some of the I just couldn't imagine when I started that the impact would be so wide. I had another lady who was struggling. She was really struggling. She was applying for job after job after job. She just couldn't get a job. She'd had about 10 years out of the workplace, and she'd had 3 children, and she had no confidence. And I looked at what she was applying for, and I looked at her CV, and I said, but you've got a master's degree. And I said, and you're applying for jobs around the 25K mark. I said, that's the reason you're not getting the jobs, is because you're overqualified for a lot of the jobs that you're going for. And she said, yeah, but I can't really go for them because I've been out of the workplace for 10 years. I was like, no, right, I'm going to put you through some confidence training. And, lo and behold, she had 6 sessions with me. And after the 6th session, she applied for this job, and she got a job after applying for jobs for 25K. She got a first job offer for 48K. So,
Wow.
And that's after just 6 sessions over 6 weeks. And she just couldn't believe it. She just couldn't believe it. She was like, oh my goodness me, she'd been trying for about 3 years. So I know that there are people out there that are really struggling to get work. And then after a couple of successes, I got a phone call one day from a lady just out of the blue, and she said to me, are you Roz Thornton? And I said, yeah. She goes, you're the lady that gets jobs. And I said, I don't get jobs. I said, I help give people confidence, and I help support people through the application process, and I teach them skills, so that they can do it for themselves. I said, but I don't get jobs. And she was like, no, I heard that you're the woman to speak to and you get jobs. And I was like, I don't get jobs. I just support women who want to get jobs. And so anyway, to cut a long story short, I ended up going to her organization, and we had a meeting, and she said she wanted me to run some training courses for her women that were visiting her center. And a lot of them were lone parents, or a lot of them were women who were fleeing domestic violence. And, and quite a few of them were just mums who had lost their confidence, had been out of work for 6 or 7 years. And she was saying that she wanted me to put them through this program. And so I said, yeah, fine, okay. And I said to her, here's my price, and, that's it. And she was like, okay. And I was like, wow, that was easy. So, and that's how it started. And then
That's beautiful.
I ran some training courses for her. And then I ran another lot of training courses, and then the word just spread, and other children's centers started to contact me, because the women themselves were going out and talking about these courses across South London where I live. And so then I just started to get all these phone calls from these different centres saying, come to us, come run some training courses. And that's what I did. So I did that for about 3 years. And then the sort of the funding arrangements changed for a lot of these centres. So a lot of them weren't able to fund external trainers anymore. So I switched my business model slightly. And I just decided to branch out on my own and just start my own business. And that was it. So in 2016, Amazing Women Global was launched.
That is really fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done. Well done for doing that. So, as a business owner,
Mm-hmm.
as an individual, doing
Mm,
all these wonderful things, what was
mm.
the mindset that kept you going, on your own?
Yeah, I think that I was just about to say, because I've got 7 steps to building a successful business, and the first one really is mindset. And
Good,
for
good.
me, the reason why I developed my mindset, and I guess people look at me and think, oh, wow, she's got a strong mindset. Normally, when you see people who are doing quite well, or, they've got a very strong, positive mindset, it's because they've come from some sort of adversity in the past and they've been able to overcome it. So with me, I went through quite a difficult childhood. There was a lot of domestic violence in our house. And so when I became an adult, I felt like there was a bit of a disconnect between how I viewed the world, and how I viewed relationships. Needless to say, I became a single mother, and one thing led to another. Financially, I wasn't in control. I didn't know what I was doing with my finances. I was just getting money, spending money. I was exhausted. I was working full time. I was trying to do everything on our own. And I think sometimes, we try to be superwoman, and, we try to do everything. And my family live in the north of England. So I just felt that one day I just remember coming home from work and just thinking, I can't do this anymore. And I think I was probably quite close to a bit of a nervous breakdown. And I think I just had another letter from a debt collection company saying, like, you owe this amount of money and all of this. And I think the stress, people don't realize how stressful it is trying to manage on one income in London, especially. So for me, that was really when the changes happened for me. And I remember just praying, and I just got down on my knees and I just prayed, and I just said, you have to help me. You have to help me. If you're out there, you have to help me. It was like a bit of a rant to God, but it worked. Because literally, I kid you not, literally the following week, I was at an event, I was at a party, and this woman just started talking to me from nowhere. I didn't know who she was. And she just started talking to me and asking me all these questions and saying to me things like, oh, what's your passion? What's your purpose? And, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And have you ever thought about your skills? Have you ever thought about doing something else? And I was just like looking at her. I was like, what are you talking about? And I said, what do you do for a living? And she says, I'm a life coach. And I was like, oh, wow, And I was quite intrigued, and I didn't really understand what a life coach was or anything like that. And but she just seemed so happy with what she was doing and confident. And I just remember looking at her and thinking, wow, if only I could be a bit like that. But it kind of got me thinking, and it kind of opened up my mind. And I went on a bit of a journey, and I ended up buying Fiona Harold's book called Be Your Own Life
Yeah,
Coach.
yeah.
And I remember opening that book and I could not put it down. And it was just about everything. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is why this has happened to me. That's happened to me. This. So sometimes, and then just by pure coincidence, I got hold of The Secret as well around about the same time. And I read that and watched the video. And I remember thinking, wow, I can really change my situation. I can turn my life around. And I did. And I started to invest in property, and what the sort of things. I mean, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I lost a lot of money. I made a lot of money. I lost a lot of money. I made a lot of money. But throughout the recession, I managed to keep hold of, quite a few of my portfolio, which I have. And I just remember thinking, wow, if I hadn't made those decisions like 10 years ago, there's no way I could afford to do that now, But it was reading those books and opening my mind, and I started to go to workshops, and I started badgering people and saying things that I didn't understand about mindset. I would always, if I went to someone's workshop, I'd be always ringing them up the next day and saying, I didn't understand this bit, can you go through that again? And so in the end, I guess years later, I decided myself that I wanted to help people who'd been on maybe a similar path to me, because I feel like people never take the time out to sit down and really think, what do I want to do with my life? They just do a job, they get up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, get up, go to work. come home, eat, sleep. And it's kind of like a bit of a vicious cycle. And I feel like sometimes people don't take the time to sit down and really think about what is it that I really want to do? What impact do I want to make on this world? What legacy do I want to leave for my children? You know, so I think for me, I was thankful that I had the opportunity to do that. And you know, quite a few years ago. So that's kind of a bit of a roundabout story, but that's really how I got my inspiration, really. I just had enough and knew that there was something better for me out there. And I just thought, I can't keep just doing this cycle of work, eat. I mean, it suits some people. I'm not, you know, knocking that. But I think I just wanted something a bit more. And I wanted more flexibility as well. Having being a single mum, I needed flexibility in my work. You know, I wanted to take school holidays off. I didn't want to always rely on other people to look after my daughter. So that's what I did. And after I'd gone on my personal development journey, I remember I made a list. I used to make gratitude lists. I used to say affirmations. I used to do power statements. You name it. I had Post-it notes all over the house. I had vision boards. I still do vision boards. I do vision board workshops. You can see one of my vision boards. I still believe in the power of vision boards. So for me, it was a bit of a process, but I feel like now I'm in a position to really help not just people who are in my immediate vicinity, but people all over the world. And that's my mission now, is to just help people, but particularly women.
Good. That is really lovely. Okay, we're going to talk about Amazing Women Global later. But the secrets to succeeding in business.
Yes.
Would you let that out now, please?
Yes. So I have 7 steps, which I'd like to share with you. And the first step is having an awareness of your current situation. And actually, I know it sounds simple, but it's quite, you'd be surprised how many people don't just stop and take stock of where they're at in their lives. So I feel like people could sit down and actually think, okay, where am I financially? Am I where I want to be? Where am I career-wise? Am I where I want to be? Where am I with my health? Am I where I want to be? Where am I with my relationships? Am I where I want to be? And if the answer is no, 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 then sit down and think about, actually, where do I want to be in, say, 5 years' time? You know, and start to really think about formulating some goals, really. Because I think if we go through life without any set goals, we're just aimlessly wandering through life. And then before you know it, you hit retirement. And, you know, you think, oh, wow, where did my life go? So, so I think having some so the first step is having some sort of awareness about your current situation and where you're at and whether or not you're happy with it. And if you're not, what do you want to change? You know, where do you want to be? And maybe pick a time scale, maybe 3 years or 5 years. So I think really having that awareness about where you're at is the first thing, and just taking some time out to think about it. The second thing is try to connect to your passion. Think about what you wanted to do when you was a child. Think about all the things that make you smile. Think about the things that you absolutely love doing. Think about the things that you would do if no one paid you. What would you get up out of bed for in the morning if there was no money, but you still wanted to volunteer and do it? What types of things would you do? So really think about what you're passionate about. And that will then lead you to your why, which is your purpose, and your values. So I've got here passion, purpose, and values. So, and connect with your values. So what is most important to you? For me, the most important thing was family. And that's why I decided I needed to work flexibly. I needed to find a job that I was kind of my own boss, I guess. And it connected strongly to my why, because my why was I wanted to support women, because obviously I'd seen bad things happen in my own family. And I wanted to make sure that other women didn't have to go through what we went through, you know. So that's really connected to my why. And what am I passionate about? I'm passionate about transformational change. I'm passionate about when I see somebody and they come to me and they they're at a certain level in their life, they're not where they want to be, and then they stay with you and you help them, and then suddenly you see them fly, and they're well on their way to being where they want to be, and that is a fantastic feeling. So I love seeing change. So really connecting with your passion, purpose, and values. So that's the second one. The third one is mastering your mindset. So this takes a bit of work, and it's a bit of a process. And like I said, I gave some clues earlier on when I said you have to read positive material instead of watching rubbish on TV or Netflix. You watch some YouTube videos of inspirational speakers, watch things that will feed your mind as opposed to dumb your mind down. So I think feed your mindset with lots of things, positive things, read positive books. I started off reading people like Louise Hay, Dr. Wayne Dwyer is another good one to start off with. They're fantastically positive people. And they were very much my early coaches in terms of the work that I followed them. And so we're on number 4 now. Yeah?
Yeah.
So the fourth one is setting goals. You always need to set new challenges and new goals for yourself, because you will lose motivation if you don't. And you need to know what you're aiming for. You wouldn't get in a car and just say drive. Yeah, you don't know where you're driving to. You need to have a destination. So setting goals, but setting goals that work for you, not goals that work for your partner or your sister or your best friend or your coach. No, goals that actually work for you, and that requires some thinking, and that's obviously linked to where you want to be as well in, say, 3 or 5 years' time. So those goals that you set now will be affected by where you actually want to be. So if you don't know what your goals are, you can actually think ahead and say, well, actually, where do I want to be in 5 years' time, and then work backwards. So that's a really good way of thinking about goals, because sometimes it's hard when people say, well, what's your goal? It's hard to just come out with things just like that. But if you go through the other steps first, like getting some awareness, finding out what your passion, purpose, and values are, then setting those goals will be a lot easier. The next one I have is communicate with confidence. Now, I know a lot of particularly women and men too, but particularly women, I find that they do lack confidence. And it's finding out where that lack of confidence is coming from, because quite often we have some unhelpful beliefs, or we have thoughts that are coming from our subconscious mind that are holding us back. So it's actually just finding out what's stopping us, what's holding us back, and actually trying to release some of those unhelpful beliefs. And once those unhelpful beliefs are released, we just replace them with more empowering beliefs. Okay? So that will help you to communicate with confidence, and learning as well how to communicate with who your target audience is if you're setting up a business. The next one I have is know what motivates you. Okay, so whatever it is, we're all motivated by different things, but find what your key motivation is, and then make sure that you have some of that. So for example, if your motivation for doing well in business is so that you can have more holidays abroad, then as soon as you have some level of success, the first thing you need to do is book yourself a small holiday abroad. Yeah, so you need to keep yourself motivated. So know what motivates you and keep a lot of that around you. And so the last one is to prioritize yourself and take action. So prioritizing yourself, and I was chatting with someone the other day about this. We must always prioritize ourselves when it comes to business, because in the first maybe year or so, you might not actually make that much money, but whatever money you do make, you just have to make sure you pay yourself first. And that's because that will keep you motivated. And it's also a recognition of all the hard work that you're doing. When you're self-employed in business, quite often you do everything at the beginning because you don't have the funds to pay someone. So you end up doing marketing, operations, finances, delivery, admin, taking phone call, everything. You do everything yourself. So you do have to recognize that you are doing a really fantastic job. And again, that's tied with keeping you motivated. So you have to pay yourself first and prioritize your first, and not confuse that with being selfish. Just put
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
first. Because a lot of
Mm,
people think, oh, if I put myself first, it's
yeah.
going to appear selfish. No, you have to put yourself first. Just like when you're on an aeroplane and they drop the oxygen, you know, if they say if the oxygen mask drops, if you have
Yeah.
small children, you have to do yourself first and then
Yeah.
look after the children, because
That's it.
if you don't, you're no use to anyone if you're on the floor. So
That's
you
true.
have to look after yourself first.
That's true. Yeah. Good, good. Wonderful tips. Thank you so much for these wonderful, wonderful tips. Good.
Mm.
Okay. Now let's go back to the amazing, ordinary women doing
Yes,
amazing things. Yes. Amazing Women Global.
yes, yes.
Okay. So what is this program about,
Okay,
essentially?
so one of the things that I talk about is having an event that you are known for. Now, for me, I wanted to recognise ordinary women who were doing extraordinary things. Prior to being made redundant, I worked for local authorities for 20 years, and I was a community worker, and I worked with some of Britain's poorest communities. And some of the people that I saw along the way were living in conditions that you just wouldn't imagine, that you wouldn't think people were living like that in the UK, in the 21st century. You just wouldn't believe. And I found that with a little bit of encouragement and support, particularly the women, they could go a long way. And I saw some fantastic stories of women who, set up projects and programs that were just fantastic. And not only fantastic, but surpassed the government funded ones as well, and cost very little to run, but impacted on a much wider audience and the community that they lived in. And I thought, wow, some of this work is so fantastic and no one knows about it. And I thought there must be amazing women all over the country who are doing things like this that no one knows about. So that's why I decided, I thought, I've just got to do it. I've just got to do these awards and just see who shows up. Well, so I started it in 2017, and I had very little budget. I didn't know what I was doing, really. I just thought, I just got to do it. I just put it out there on Facebook, and a couple of people responded and said they were going to support me. And I managed to get a venue, and it was just so fantastic. We got over 100. We got 140 nominations from 5 different countries.
Wow.
I thought it was
That
just going to
is
be a local thing.
amazing.
I thought it was just going to be like a South London thing. And yeah, I got nominations from all over the world, and I just couldn't believe it. And I just thought, wow. So there was a real appetite for it, and we just got some amazing stories. And it was fantastic, and it was a lot of hard work. And I remember thinking afterwards, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to do that again. In 2018, I thought I'm going to have a break from it. And it kind of like 2018 was coming to an end, and I was thinking, oh, do I really want to do another one? And then I just started to get loads of emails from women and loads of messages saying, are you going to do another awards? Are you going to do another awards? We really want to come again. We really want to see it again. We really want to. And I was like, okay, the universe is telling me I need to do another one. I'm going to do
Sure.
another one. So here
That's
we
it.
are again. So the next one is the 30th of March, 2019. Yeah, so Saturday, the
Good.
30th of March. And yeah, so we've got 5 categories. Do you want to hear the categories?
Yes, please.
So we've got amazing young woman. So that's a woman who's aged between 18 and 30. We have amazing woman in business. So that's a woman who has set up a business, but not just set up a business, but maybe despite some adversity or against the odds, or she's doing something over and above a business. Maybe she's doing something behind the scenes to support her community or something. So that's a woman in business. And then there's amazing woman, which is just a very open category. Could be anyone, as long as they're doing something amazing. And then we've got amazing mum. And I thought I wanted to put that in there, not just in recognition of people like my mum, but mums all over the country, really, who never really get recognised, I don't think, for some of the fantastic work that they do. So it could be a mum, it could be a foster mum, it could be an adopted mum, but a mum, nevertheless, who's doing a great job. and amazing lifetime achievement is the last one. So that would be somebody who's perhaps maybe sort of been doing what they're doing for quite a long time, but has never been recognised for it. And again, it can be mainly work in the community or in business, but it could also just be they've got an incredible story and they've helped a lot of people. I mean, I know a woman, and she just used to just open her door to youngsters who needed a place to crash, who just needed a somebody's ear. It wasn't a formal thing. She just said, look, if any young person doesn't feel safe on the street, they want to come here, they can have a cup of drink, they can have a cup of tea, they can have a drink, they can sit down, they can chat. And she I remember she started a project like that just by opening her front door and having a lot of young, and then she started getting more and more and more. And it's just people like that who just don't really think of themselves as anything great, but they're just doing such a fantastic job, and impacting on a lot of lives. And that particular project went on to be quite a good charity in the end. We've got other people with another woman who set up some sports activities and after school clubs and homework clubs for kids who didn't have anywhere to go after school and were just hanging around. And that ended up turning into quite a big project. We've got lots of stories about particularly women who've set things up within their communities and are doing very, very well. So, yeah.
That's very inspiring. Well done.
So watch this
well
space.
done. Well done. That's really great. Thank you so very much for, coming on the show. Yeah, we're nearly going over. We haven't gone over, but we don't want to go over. Okay. No. So I'd like you to give us one word or advice for somebody who is really struggling and they want to succeed in their business. Remember, it's January, end of January, but it's still the beginning of the year, and a lot of people made resolutions, they set their goals, plans, and all of those things. And even right now, they're getting frustrated. Things aren't coming together. They want to build their business. They want to start something different. They want to be flexible, with the way they manage their affairs, look after the children and all of those things. What is your advice for them? How do you want them to manage and make it happen in 2019?
Yeah, I think just to go back to goals, because I think sometimes people set goals and I see their goals and I think, wow, sometimes I think we can, it's good to be inspired. And it's good to aspire to do great things. But I think sometimes people set their goals a bit too high and they set themselves up to fail. So actually just once you've written your goals, maybe just do a little review and see how realistic they are. And maybe think about some different options. I mean, we call it the GROW model in coaching, where you look at your goals and then you say, how realistic is this? Really go back and actually go through it. And maybe sit down with a mentor or somebody you admire or somebody who's already doing what you're doing and that you want to do. Maybe sit down with somebody who's maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years ahead of you and sit down and talk it through with them and say, is this realistic? Or, what are my other options? And then once you've gone through that process, then have a look at what you can do and maybe set some smaller milestones for yourself. I think sometimes we try to tackle too much all at once. If you've got a health issue, for example, maybe you need to put the business to one side and actually deal with that health issue first. I see so many people who want to do things, but actually their health is not right. So actually, you need to put that to one side and actually look after yourself. Put yourself first. Yeah. Sure. So I feel like people need to really look at their goals and not be too ambitious too soon. Just take small action. Even if it's something in your community, it could be just running in like a little workshop around the corner from where you live. Do it for free, get some pictures, get some publicity, put it out there and start practicing your craft, because you only become better by the more you do things. And even if you're not being paid for things right at the very beginning, I did a lot of things that I wasn't paid for at the very beginning of my business, but what it did was it generated a lot of publicity and a lot of interest, so that people with the budgets did eventually come and find me, because I was already out there doing what I know to do best. So I think sometimes you just got to go out there and do it, and maybe not give up your job if you're in a job. Maybe don't give it up too early. Maybe go part-time. Yeah. So you've still got a little bit of an income coming in, and then start practicing your craft, your business, on the side, and then get some publicity and generate it that way. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much. That's a very wonderful tip. Yeah. So now, lastly, how do you balance your social life with your business life and self-care? How do you put all this together that you don't get overwhelmed doing all the things that you do?
I try not to work after 7 o'clock in the evening, even though I'm here in the evening. But I really try not to work after 7. That's my family time. And I try not to work weekends, but sometimes it's not possible, particularly at the end of January when you have to do tax returns and things like that. But generally speaking, I try not to work weekends, and I try not to work after 7. Tomorrow's always another day. And I just try to be as efficient as I can. If I know I've got quite a few reports to do or some heavy deadlines, get up an hour earlier. You have to fit it into your working day somehow.
Sure.
Yeah, and I try to do some exercise. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but if you do a bit of exercise, you do actually feel better and more motivated to work. So I try to, at busy times, I try to do as much exercise as I can as well, because I just find that it gives me more energy to actually get the work done. So.
Great. So where can we find you and learn more about what you do? Really?
Right. So you can go to my website, which is www.amazingwomenglobal.com. And also, and I've also got a Facebook page, the same name, Amazing Women Global, Facebook.com/Amazing Women Global. And so I can be contacted through either of those. I've got a bit of a special offer for your listeners, if you're interested. Please. So I have 2 of my courses. One is an audio and one is a set of videos. So the videos are called How to Find Your Dream Job. And it has so many tips in there. It's got some great content there, which is what I deliver on my courses. And for that video, the retail price is £97. But I'm going to give out a code, which means that anyone who listens to this can get a 50% off if they want to. So they need to go.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So and then there's a set of audios as well, which is about financial empowerment for women, which is really about getting them to have more of a abundance mindset as opposed to a poverty mindset, and actually think about how they want their finances to shape up in the future, and giving them lots of tips and advice about managing their money. It's not financial advice like what a financial advisor would give, but it's more about mindset around money, and some tips, and that retails at £74. And again, I've got a code. They can get 50% off both of those if anybody wants those. So if they go on my website and click on to online courses, they will find it there.
That's how the Talangria Business Show will end this Wednesday. Thank you so much, everyone who watched us, and thank you again for our guests that's coming to furnish us with all these wonderful tips and the amazing stories shared. I'm muted at Dibawali, and from me, it's bye, and Roz.
Bye.
Thank you so very much. Bye for now.
All right. Bye. Thank you for having me.